like that cherry bomb.
Welcome to the show, Adam and Penny. We're so happy to have you here. Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
Thrilled to be here.
Okay, so a hairstylist we had on the show recently remarked that in his 20-plus year career, he's noticed that more and more women than ever are experiencing hair thinning these days. So do you think that's true from what y'all are seeing in your chair?
I definitely see it.
Yeah.
Yes, like more than ever.
Yeah.
And I think there are probably a lot of reasons for it. Chronic stress is a big one. I think a lot of us in various parts of the world and in this country are experiencing chronic stress.
Mm-hmm.
The pandemic was a big one.
Yeah.
A lot of telogen effluvium like around that time.
Which is what?
So
What does that mean?
rapid, sudden shedding.
Got it.
It's
Okay.
like you kind of molt.
Okay.
And it's very distressing. So I'm definitely seeing it. Do you see it, Penny?
What about you?
I do, definitely.
Yeah. More so than, because you were a hairstylist before.
I was,
right?
yes.
So
I worked.
you
In
have
fact, I even worked for Oribe.
personally,
Personally.
the Oribe.
The Oribe, yes, I did. Yes.
Incredible.
Icon.
Yeah. So you saw maybe more, you're seeing more thinning now than you have ever.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, and that's what brought me into, actually, I became a trichologist.
Yeah.
Because it was just so prevalent. So many people were losing their hair.
Right.
And now it seems to be more prevalent than ever.
We were chatting yesterday about who your clientele is, which honestly surprised me. So maybe you could share with the class.
Absolutely. My clients are mostly under 25.
Yeah. That's
Yes.
unbelievable.
Yeah, I definitely thought it would have been an older demographic.
No, and most people they think, oh, you're losing your hair, right? Okay, so you've sort of gone through menopause and you're old. And yes, of course, you're like, oh, great, thanks. But yes, and of course, we do lose our hair when we get older. That's natural, but it's not natural when you're under 25 to be losing your hair. It's frightening, it's alarming, and it really starts affecting your sense of self-worth. Like, who are you? We identify ourselves with our hair.
Yeah.
So, when you're very young, to start losing your hair is extremely frightening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what's the male to female ratio?
About 30% of my clients are young gentlemen.
And 70% are young women.
Yes.
So majority really are young women under 25.
Correct.
Wow.
Yeah. But I also will say, maybe I'm wrong, but I think women are more apt to act and do something about it. They would come to make an appointment to see you versus young men. Maybe I'm wrong, but
Yes, I think you're right there. And also older than that, sort of Gen Z and Gen X are really sort of, they're online, they're great researchers.
Yeah.
Where anything older than that, you think, well, you know what, I'm going to pop along to see my dermatologist.
right.
Where I come in on a very homeopathic approach. I'm not a medical doctor. So, a lot of people older would want to see, well let's see what my derm has to say.
Right.
And
Yes.
then they come and see me
Got
if
it.
they're not happy with that approach.
solution,
With
yeah.
that solution,
Got
correct.
it. Got it.
Interesting. And Adam, so this has actually happened to you because you mentioned this yesterday. And again, if you're listening, you're walking right now, you're listening to the podcast, you can't see Adam, but Adam has a great head of red hair. And it's quite long. It's like just above shoulder length. But you were saying yesterday that there was a time where you had no hair down the center of your head. Is that right?
Yeah, I was really bald. I was, like, if people know about this, like the Norwood scale, I got to like 5A on the Norwood scale.
Okay.
Which, to give a visual, would be sort of like what Prince William is now.
Okay.
Strong sides and not much on top.
Right.
Almost nothing on top. And yeah, I mean, it's been a whole journey of reversing it,
Yeah.
which I have done using lots of different things.
Right.
But, Penny said something interesting about how our hair is such a strong part of our identity.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't want to lose that. I wanted
Yeah.
to stay in control of it. So I took steps to restore my hair and reverse the hair loss.
Yeah.
And I'm happy I did. I'm enjoying my hair.
Well, I'm going to ask the question because I know our listeners are like, wait, what did you do? You put hair where there previously was no hair. So we have to ask, what steps did you take that actually worked?
I did a lot. So I have had 2 rounds of FUE hair transplants.
Mm-hmm.
That's like probably the biggest intervention that I've taken. And part of why I had to do it twice is because I made a mistake after the first one. I didn't take on like the medical interventions like Rogaine,
Right.
minoxidil, PRP. And so I had androgenic alopecia, male pattern balding, and it progresses.
Right.
So I had my front hairline done and had beautiful, successful work done, and then it progressed.
Right.
So 5 years later, I had my little hairline and nothing behind it.
Okay.
So
go back again.
So I went and had another round. At that
What
point,
did you call it? FUE?
FUE,
What does that stand?
follicular unit extraction.
Oh.
So you may have heard of like what they call the strip method, FUT.
No.
Which is, there are different methods of doing hair transplants. The one that I had is where you have like individual grafts.
Got it.
Instead of taking a bigger part of the scalp
Yeah.
and sort of breaking that down into grafts, just different techniques.
Right.
Okay.
So I happen to have FUE. And for the second round, by that point, everybody was talking about Istanbul. So
Yes.
I did go to Istanbul.
Oh my goodness.
There are pros and cons to Turkish transplants.
Okay.
The biggest pro is probably it's a lot cheaper. That's the thing
Yeah,
that everybody
for sure.
talks about.
Yeah.
They have great technology, great, doctors, great practitioners, and it's just cheaper. The biggest con for me is the design aesthetic. The way they like hairlines to look, and I'm generalizing, but I think this is fair, is not very natural.
I see.
They like it very straight, very symmetrical, very dense.
Right.
So I had already had my hairline done, and they wanted to fix it,
I
quote
see.
unquote.
I see.
And I said, we're not doing that.
Right. Right.
Well, at least
This
it's you
is-
to speak up because you're a hairstylist
I
also.
was
You
gonna
know
say,
what. to
Hairstylist
ask
has
for.
entered the chat.
Yeah. So hair transplants, I do take minoxidil and finasteride.
Okay.
And lately I'm on the Oribe densifying, and I love it. That was
Yeah.
like the last layer of support and protection that really made my hair feel stable.
Yeah. So it's like a 360 approach. And we're going to talk about this line a little bit later. But Penny, how do you know when it's time to go in, get professional help? Like, what is normal hair shedding? What's a visual cue that it's time?
That's a great question. I think we sometimes ignore that there's more hair in the drain, there's more hair in our brush, but then we start looking in the mirror and you think, wait a minute, the top of I can see my scalp. What's going on here? And that's when you're thinking, well, wait a minute, now I've got, oh yes, there's more hair in my brush, there's more hair in the drain, I can see hair on my clothes. And so I think that's when you start thinking about it, and then you sort of, life gets in the way, and then you think, oh, I'll be fine, let me just
Part my hair differently.
part my hair differently.
Yeah.
Let me go on Reddit. Let me, Google.
Yes.
And then it's like, let's try, all kinds of lotions, potions, snake oil, and what have you. And then it's race off to me 100 miles an hour, and then sort of sit in my chair, and they're quite frightened, like I've been really losing my hair. I don't know what to do. What's caused this? So I would say that's what, when you first start noticing that there is more hair in the brush and there is more hair in the drain, that's when you think to yourself, okay, what's happening here? And it is helpful when you see a trichologist. We are an approach on a very homeopathic level. So we can sort of I like to do some detective work, what's going on exactly, so we can pinpoint what's caused this and how we can correct it.
Right. So you're basically saying if your spidey sense is going off, that you have more hair showing up in the drain or whatever, it's like, don't wait.
Correct.
Go and see a derm or you or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And hopefully it's a quite a quick fix if we catch it very early.
Okay. So early intervention is better.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good.
I thought it was interesting having an analysis done with you yesterday, where you put my scalp and Jill's scalp under the, what do you call
Derm scope.
The derm scope.
Mhm.
So picture this, guys. It's like a magnifying mirror that it's seeing every single, I don't know how
Your
small it
follicles.
is or how much it's magnifying.
200 times.
200 times on your scalp with a light on it, everyone.
Yeah. So,
I don't know if I ever need to see it again, but
yeah, it's a little frightening, but it is amazing to be able to see, up close what you're talking about, because otherwise it's a bit subjective, right? Am I thinning? Am I not thinning? And the way that I noticed is I was creating video content, and I was bending over, and as I was editing, I could see gaps in my hair that I couldn't notice just looking straight ahead. But when I was looking at the derm scope, you were able to show me that there were certain areas in the front where there was just one hair coming out of the follicle. And out of the back, there were 2 hairs coming out of the follicle, which
Correct.
I didn't know that it's normal to have 2 hairs come out of a follicle.
1 to 4 out of a follicle.
1 to 4.
Mhm.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay. I did not know that. So that's how we could really tell that, yes, I'm having thinning in the front, to be able to see that. So that was
Yes.
amazing. The other thing you said to us yesterday that I was like, pardon me, is when you said that our follicles can smell and taste.
Oh, I know. And that's Professor
What does
Pals,
that mean?
who's actually Ralph Pals is a scientist in hair research, and he had discovered that our follicles can actually, yes, taste and smell. So the key is now what all scientists are doing is sort of like feeding our follicles to see, well, do you like this taste? Do you like this smell? Is this what's going to stimulate you to grow? Because I think what is most frustrating for most scientists and most dermatologists, anyone in the medical field, is why is our follicle dormant? We have a hair growth cycle. So for everybody who wants to know what I'm talking about there, I'll back up a bit. Our hair grows in a cycle, anagen, catagen, and telogen. And it's constantly growing in a cycle like this for our whole life.
Yeah.
And, you know, our anagen stage, which is our growing stage, can last up to 7 years. Catagen is resting, telogen falling out. So we want to have a better understanding, why is it that the hair has gone through this natural cycle, it's now gone into the telogen cycle, so it's fallen out. Why is it just sitting dormant? Why is it we're not being able to stimulate it to come back into the anagen cycle? The follicle's not dead.
Yeah.
That's not always in all cases, but that's predominantly why is it not being stimulated? And hence that's why we're doing all these tests of like what's going to stimulate it, what smell and taste can sort of like activate the follicles.
Yeah. Yeah. And I thought it was interesting too, when you're giving a consultation to myself and to Carlene, it was like you're starting with questions that are like almost like you would hear from a doctor, even though you're not a medical professional. Like what are your hormone levels? Like, can you talk us through how you would analyze somebody beyond the derm scope? Like, what's your sort of starting point in your investigative work?
In my investigative work, well, first I always want to make sure that the person just feels very comfortable and safe in my setting.
Yes.
You know, that's the most important. It's very private. You're sitting in a very private setting, and you're not obliged to share your blood work with me. You know, nobody is. I mean, I don't ever pretend that I've got MD after my name. Right. I don't. But it is very helpful for me to have an understanding what is going on, because for example, we'll use telogen effluvium, which we were just talking about earlier, which is a chronic hair shedding. It means to say the hair starts off in anagen stage, is merrily growing, and then catapults into telogen. It's falling out again, and it just goes in this cycle. So we end up with these sort of like tufty hairs, and then long spindly hairs, and on the bottom where you're thinking, I'm desperately trying to grow my hair, but it's only sort of getting to, you know, about 4 inches off my scalp, and it just seems to fall back out. That's classic telogen effluvium. We want to understand why that's happening, and that's why it's it's important for me to be able to look at the blood work, so to know what's going on with if there's a D deficiency, if there's which is very prevalent across the planet.
Yes,
most people are D deficient, and that is relatable to telogen effluvium, androgenetic alopecia, female pattern hair loss, and all the androgen, and also alopecia areata. You know, so is linked to low vitamin D. And I could only determine that if I can see that, if it's what we call flagged. And for your listeners, it's really easy when you get your blood results and you're looking at it and you're thinking, well, I don't know what all this is about. Anything that's red, that's flagged in red, means, something's up.
Got to look at this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Exactly. And 9 times out of 10, your doctor will call you and say, XYZ's flagged in red.
Your iron, your vitamin D, your B12, whatever.
Or whatever your panel says, you know. But for a trichologist, I obviously don't read your entire panel. I only pertain what is strictly towards what could have caused hair loss. And that's just one example.
What are some other main culprits of hair loss? So you mentioned vitamin D.
Yes.
What are some other ones people might not be aware of, whether it's hair products or tools or medications?
In regard to what I would look at on a blood result, or
Just in general, as you're doing your detective work, what are your findings that are other common causes?
Well, and I think Adam can probably jump in on this afterwards. It's great that I have a hairdressing background. I've got over 30 years of the industry behind me, so I will know instantly when somebody's hair's burnt, for example. And they're saying, no, my hair's breaking off, and I've got some kind of deficiency. We need to do an analysis on my hair, and I can see immediately as an expert, no, actually, it's aggressive styling techniques that's caused this for your hair to be burnt off. And regarding, so that's that's one element, and which I can see automatically just by touching the hair in general. Could there be a deformity of what's going on with the hair? Yes, it could be, and that's for me to pick up as well. Trichology purposes to sort of analyze what's actually going on along the hair shaft itself. And then we've also got forms of deficiency. So whether the person's vegan, for example, and their B12's very low, their iron, their ferritin levels very low. So that would cause, again, a telogen effluvium, which can be corrected. These are corrective measures that can be taken into place, that can be easily corrected. And someone like myself can easily help that person correct these patterns, and hopefully your listeners will find like, oh, wait a minute, I do that. Yeah. I can correct this.
Penny mentioned something a moment ago that was interesting.
Yeah.
A lot of people have hair breakage that they confuse with hair loss.
Right.
Two different situations with different solutions.
Yeah.
So oftentimes, like, I try to point out to my clients, like, those little short hairs that you see inside your hair, if the end of it is pointed like a needle, that's new growth.
Yes.
It's not breakage.
Right.
And that could indicate rapidly cycling hair. It could indicate that something's going on that's more of a hair loss thing versus a damage or breakage thing.
Right, which would have more of a blunt end
It's
to the strand.
broken. You'll see it. It's just broken.
Yeah.
Right. It's frayed.
Right. Right.
And it's usually in clumps.
Yeah. So you would never want to go into like soaking wet hair with like a round brush and a blow dryer.
Right.
Rough dry it first. Get 90% of that water out of there. So it's just damp to the touch.
Yeah.
Then you can get your products in there, protection, treatments, all that stuff, styling, all that. And then it'll be faster and easier.
I'm not a fan of metal brushes at all.
Same.
And if your listeners today are, use metal brushes and they're thinking, right, you know what, this sounds familiar. My hair has been breaking off. I can almost guarantee you it's because of those metal brushes. And there are an array of brushes out there. Oribe has an amazing set of brushes.
I love
that
their
are ball
brushes.
bristles.
Yeah, they're so nice.
They're wonderful. And it's a little investment, but you know what? It's your hair. It's worth it.
Adam, I did want to ask you, because I feel like this comes up a lot on TikTok, about how do you know if you have hard water or not?
There are different like levels of hard water, obviously, in different parts of the country and the world. Here in New York, for example, we have very good tap water. We have like Catskill Mountain water. But it's not like that everywhere. And as a global educator, I travel around and work in different markets, and I'm definitely in places sometimes. Brisbane is an example. I was just in Brisbane last fall, Australia, and we work with several models who were all incredible and great and all had really damaged hair.
Oh, really?
And it was about the sun and the beach and the water.
Oh, okay.
So hard water's tricky. I feel like a water softener makes the water feel better and, probably sort of filters it a little bit. But I also don't really like what soft water does to hair.
Yeah, what does it do?
Well, it softens it, which it's not
too flat then.
It's not great for everybody.
Okay.
Like for people with curly hair, like me, my hair's straight today, but I have like naturally 3A curls, very curly. I can tell by how my curls act if I'm in soft water, and you need different products.
Yeah.
Products that would normally put a cast on curly hair with soft water doesn't happen.
Oh, interesting.
It changes the way products work.
And it's funny you say that, because I do like my hair when I wash it in New York better than in Toronto. I swear.
That's amazing.
It could be just our municipal water system has like there's less of a need to correct it.
Yeah.
So it's just a little more natural.
So does hard water contribute to hair thinning?
Well, there haven't been some more studies done on this, and the new studies, because of the calcium, magnesium salts that are in the hard water, it can lead to hair loss.
Yeah.
And that is more prevalent with people with a kinky, coily hair texture.
Okay.
Very, very tight coils, because it's difficult for the water molecules to actually penetrate all the way down. And when it does, the hair naturally is quite dry in general. So it can really dry out the hair. But on the whole, though, will hard water make your hair fall out? No.
Got it.
But, so to answer your question, I suppose it's sort of like, depending on your hair type, could it make the hair fall out? So yes and no, I guess, is the answer.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Interesting.
Yeah, it
I
is.
do think, if you don't mind my jumping in,
Yeah, of course.
the showerhead filters are not a bad idea.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's more like removing things from the water than
Yeah.
like a water softener, which adds things to the water.
I see.
Oh, yeah.
So it's
got it.
filtering out the
The salts,
Yeah,
the
the salts.
calcium salts.
I
yes.
do know one editor who used to work with Carlene at Flair, and she's very fine hair. And she was talking about how like the T3 shower head
Oh, it's great. It is, yeah.
she was like, it was the only thing that made a difference and made her hair have a bit of volume. It didn't matter previously what shampoo and stuff she used. And I was like, oh, that's really fascinating. And it seems like kind of like a pain to even install it and do all of that.
Yeah,
but I
that's
think it
what
actually
held me back.
does make a difference.
For the sake of hair color too, like
Yes.
especially blondes,
Yeah.
if there are like metallics in the water,
That's
that'll
right.
deposit on your hair. You'll see it.
Yeah.
It's not good.
Let's talk about the difference makers. Now, it's all over TikTok, rosemary oil.
Mm-hmm.
Even some derms have recommended it.
Mhm.
Is that something that you would promote at your Trichology center, Penny, or not?
Well, interestingly enough, Oribe's densifying collection in the densifying spray actually has rosemary extract in it.
Okay.
And we have white nettle and we have sage. So we have sort of leaned into sort of a plant extract, so like the phytonutrients element of what's going to be stimulating. We've also got peppermint actually spearmint in there too. So it's nice and refreshing in the spray. And yes, some can be extremely helpful, definitely. And I, do work with oils, but I like to tell people that can rosemary oil regrow your hair? Rosemary oil is a great astringent and it is a fantastic anti-inflammatory properties. There's no question about that. Is it going to regrow your hair? Well, I mean, I'm sorry, I don't think so. I mean, yes, I think it would take, maybe it could like help the microbiome on your scalp and then help, the follicles sort of be, to stay nice and healthy, but it's not going to actually grow your hair.
Yeah.
Right.
And also I think a lot of people misread that they should just leave this rosemary oil, which has been mixed with Lord knows what else, on their scalp, and then they end up with scalp issues. So, if you're going to put oils on the scalp, sure, leave them on for an hour and then jump in the shower and shampoo these oils off.
Okay.
The go-to for many years has been minoxidil. Is that right?
Yeah, it has been. It's been FDA cleared.
Yeah.
It's been proven to, suppress hair loss. It keeps the hair in what's known as the anagen stage a lot longer.
Right.
So what it does is it's a chemical that uniforms all your hair into anagen stage. So it stops the cycle, the growth cycle. It slows that growth cycle down. And that's when people first start it, they get quite frightened because there's a big shedding. And to explain what that chemical's doing is it's unifying all your hair. Also, a lot of people have a tendency of using a lot of it because it's often in a foam form and it's very difficult to apply. Minoxidil spreads across the scalp too, so you don't need very much of it either.
Okay, so you use it in the shower, and that is considered a drug?
You don't use it in the shower. Actually, it's after. It's after the shower. You would apply it. You'd apply either small drops or you would apply the mousse. It's 5% is what you can buy in the Dwayne Reed. See, I mean, to the equivalent of what in Canada. Exactly. And you can buy it over the counter. You don't need a prescription. Anything higher than 5%, like 7%, 8%, you would need a prescription.
Okay, and they do offer that. Like you can get it by prescription or not? Kind of like
You
tretinoin
can.
versus...
And also there's oral minoxidil these days as
Right.
well. But I mean, that's something that you would have to, if you've got heart problems, please do not just go on to some sort of like bogus website and go order yourself oral minoxidil. Please make sure that you are a good candidate for it.
Right. Because there are some drawbacks too. We were talking about like some people experience hair growth on their face or
there are side effects. Contact dermatitis is one of them. Yes, for women, maybe you don't want unwanted hair on your face. They are the side effects with oral and topical minoxidil.
Yeah. Well, I
did get that side effect, by the way.
You did?
I take oral minoxidil.
Yeah.
And it did make my body a little hairier.
Okay.
Which I don't care.
Yeah.
It also makes my beard and eyebrows better. So,
Right.
pros and cons.
Pros and
But
cons.
I can imagine certain people would really have an issue with more hair on their body.
Yeah.
And it is, so oral is not approved by the FDA for hair loss.
Okay.
It's prescribed off-label a lot.
Right.
Because it's old school and understood and everything, but was originally developed as an antihypertensive, right? Heart medicine.
Yes, correct.
But if you, just to Penny's point, just to reinforce that point, if you're going to take the oral, you have to be careful. Like if you have heart issues or blood pressure issues, it may not be a good idea.
Yeah. Check with your doctor on
Absolutely.
all fronts.
And you have to get it prescribed anyway. So
Yeah.
You do.
Okay.
So it was really cool yesterday that we were introduced to the Oribe Serene Scalp densifying range. And we're going to ask you about this now, the main ingredients and how it actually works, how it's different from what else is on the market. But I'd love for you to talk about the clinical trials that compared some of those ingredients to minoxidil.
Yeah.
Because I think that's very, very cool. It's such a great new option, especially if you're somebody like me who's a bit bougie and probably wouldn't want to use Rogaine for women.
She's got a compliance issue.
Yeah.
I'll call it out.
Yeah. You make it luxury.
Yeah. It needs to come in a very chic, packaging, which this does.
Yeah.
So,
You're in the right place.
I help create the line because I have hair loss myself, like what Adam shared. I too have hair loss. I've got very, very fine, fragile hair. So what the studies actually that were done aside from the densifying collection was a group of panelists were split into 50-50 and half were asked to use 5% topical minoxidil and the other half were asked to use Redensil and Capixil. Now, both of those are compounds.
Okay.
And it was those were two compounds together. And they were asked to use this topically for 2 months. And the results came back very favorable to the panelists that used the Capixil and Redensil over the minoxidil 5%, which I was so excited when I read this, and I couldn't wait to, chat with the Oribe leading science team, and they said, "Oh yeah, and we're actually combining these into our products, and we're also adding pea sprout protein." Now, what I think what sort of leads the charge here with Oribe, utilizing these more phytonutrients in their product range is the fact that there's zero side effects, where just as we were talking about with minoxidil, there's all these side effects that that's not necessarily people want to have. And when you're getting fantastic results like this, now this wasn't Oribe's panel, this wasn't Oribe's.
Yeah, this was like a peer reviewed. This was a peer
of this, correct.
Yeah.
For the ingredients.
Ingredients. So the fact that it came back so promising, I'm thrilled to bits with, the fact that we do have these three main ingredients. Now, Capixil has actually got the red clover extract in it that really can help thicken and fortify the hair strands. We've also gotten, that's been proven, and we also know that the Redensil is actually a compound of glycine and zinc, and that is basically a keratin formulation.
Okay.
So it's protein, again, strengthens, fortifies the hair and makes the hair healthier and thicker looking, which is brilliant. And then, of course, you've got your pea sprout protein, which is a phytonutrient. And that's a great anti-inflammatory. So we can cover on a range of issues that are going on, whether it's age-related hair, because our hair, the follicle becomes smaller, the hair is in a shorter lifespan, and the hair, so this will actually help that inflammation on the scalp. It's a wonderful trio. It truly is. Adam, what are your takeaway on that too?
I have been using it and I'm getting results.
Yeah.
So it's there.
So there's a shampoo, conditioner, and a leave-in densifying treatment spray. Any tips for how this treatment is best applied? And I do want to say something I learned yesterday is that this conditioner, you actually put it on your roots to help with the densifying.
So I'm so excited about the conditioner because I actually created it. So for everybody listening and everyone watching, for you guys out there who've got really fine hair and hate conditioner because you feel like this just weighs my hair down and it looks horrible. My hair right now is on its second day.
Looks great.
Yeah, it really does. And I'm very excited. Now, I wash my hair usually every day because I've never found a conditioner that I could use that I could push my hair to the second day because it just would be greasy and limp and horrible. So our conditioner has the Capixyl and the Redensyl and the pea sprout protein in it. And it also has, it's very light liquid. It's not a heavy cream. It's a very
described it as,
it's
milky as a milky conditioner.
And I
like, ooh, that's good.
Yeah.
And so conditioner, anything milk is
you
good.
You can sort of apply it right the way through from your roots to your ends. Now, if you're very nervous and you think, no, my roots are going to get, then fine, just put it on your mid-lengths to ends, which is absolutely fine. It will not make your hair greasy. What we want to do is after we've shampooed our hair, we want to be able to close the cuticle. So we just want to add a little bit, put it right the way through, rinse it really well, and it will just be sensational. It's going to really help give a lovely shine to the hair without weighing your hair down.
Yeah.
And Adam, how do you?
Because you're personally using it.
I do. Yeah. And so do I. Yeah.
Yeah. And same here. Like I'm using it too. I feel like as a hairstylist, the insight that I try to give my clients is shampoo your scalp like you're used to. With the conditioner, because normally we shampoo the roots and condition the ends.
Yes.
Yeah.
What I tell people is think of it like a skin serum. Press it into your scalp.
Okay.
Like Penny said, it's not going to weigh your hair down.
Yeah.
You want those ingredients on your scalp where they're going to do what they do.
Right.
And speaking for myself, because I have coarse, thick, curly hair, I use the densifying conditioner on my scalp and I use a different conditioner through the lengths of my hair.
Oh, okay.
It happens to be the deep treatment mask from Oribe.
Right.
That's what I like.
Yeah.
And
Bougie.
then,
Yeah.
I mean,
I love
obviously.
it.
Yes.
And for the treatment spray, we recommend using it on wet hair straight out of the shower. I think partly because, when your hair is wet, it kind of clumps together and the scalp is a little more exposed.
Right.
That way, when you spray it on, it really hits the scalp again.
Yeah.
And I learned from Penny that I don't need to use as much of this as I was using. I really was bombing it. And you don't need to use that much. And there is, in addition to the Capixyl ingredient, there's a little sneaky styling polymer in there that plumps the roots on contact.
Okay.
So if you bring it all the way through your hair, even though it's not a hair product, you do get a little instant volume benefit that just does something right away, while the Capixyl ingredient takes time to do it.
Yeah. I've tried the line and I did find it gives you an instant volumizing effect that you might get from a volumizing shampoo and conditioner. But I was really impressed by seeing the before and afters that you guys showed us yesterday. Like that to me did not look like Oribe.
They're crazy.
It was like a lot thicker, and it was over 100 people, right? That you would.
We've got a panelist, of over 100 people.
There's a study happening.
Yeah,
now.
we are. And we're just we're literally just waiting now for our results to come in very, very shortly.
I need to ask this one first, though. So professional treatments for hair thinning. It seems like, Adam, you're a bit of a guinea pig. You've probably tried a lot of things.
I
love it. I am here for it.
I really have.
So professional treatments for hair thinning. We've heard a lot about microneedling. Does that work well? Or scalp derma rollers? Or what other maybe options are there that people could try?
Well, the studies are good on microneedling.
Yeah.
When we do it for the face, it's, I think, mostly about collagen induction.
Yeah.
When you do it on the scalp, you get a cascade of healing and growth factors that come from basically the micro injury, which isn't severe enough to cause scarring or permanent damage, but it's supposed to help. My recommendation, having, quite frankly, self-administered some microneedling with a microneedling device, leave it to the professionals.
Yeah. Okay.
I've heard that people like dermal rollers, and I think Penny is an advocate of a dermal roller.
Big fan of a dermal roller,
on the scalp.
Yeah, absolutely. So you would come in with the thickening treatment here, spray it on, and then I'd definitely say, but don't puncture your skin. Please don't, because you're going to end up with like a staphylococcus infection. Staph infection.
Thank you.
And it's just, it can actually lead to a form of scarring alopecia.
And you don't want to damage that.
Yeah, don't.
Yeah.
So you can actually purchase, I've seen scalp derma rollers online that you can purchase. And so they're different than microneedling rollers?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, they
so
are.
you can
it's just wider diameter of the actual, the little spikes on the roller.
Okay, great. So that's helpful. And you can use that in tandem with the top.
Yeah, why not?
Great.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Okay, good to know.
stimulation.
Any other devices that are worth the
Yeah, I'm a
investment?
big fan of it's like a little scalp massager, and it's got little rubber tips,
Like
not the
silicone.
The silicone.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh my goodness, I love it. And that's a nice way of actually even washing your hair. You just come in and you're not scrubbing with it. Just think about pressing the little handheld brush onto the scalp and then gently sort of massaging. So it's sort of in round sort of circular movements, and all you're doing is sort of pressing it into the scalp. You're not sort of jarring it back and forth and matting all the hair up. And then sort of picking it up again and moving it to a different area on the scalp. It feels lovely.
Yeah.
And it just gets the circulation going,
It gets
right?
circulation going.
Okay. And finally, Adam, what's the best haircut or hairstyle for people who are experiencing thinning? Are there any tricks that you can share?
Great question. I will say this, at least when it comes to male pattern balding, do not attempt to compensate for missing density with extra length somewhere. You're on a slippery slope headed toward a comb over.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which to a certain extent can work, kind of, but it's just, I've seen people really, in a misguided attempt to look their best, wind up looking not so great.
Yeah.
Because they're overcompensating for missing density with a lot of length somewhere.
Right.
And like laying and placing and trying to like create an illusion. So I think in general, shorter is better.
Okay.
And I think obviously using products that are going to help to redensify your hair is brilliant. But also on a more cosmetic note, sometimes I've used like root touch-up sprays or root touch-up products to sort of densify the scalp or the root in weaker areas.
Yeah.
Right.
Like as a styling thing.
Yeah.
It helps a lot.
Filling in the
Yeah, it
hairline,
does.
basically.
Yeah, just fill it in.
Yep.
Yeah.
It helps. It's cosmetic, but it helps us out a lot. And like at Oribe, we have a product called Swept Up. It's like a volume powder. There are many versions of this.
Yeah.
That is nice in fine hair because it creates a really dense, bulky feeling to the hair.
Yeah.
Beefs it up.
Right.
Also, if you've got that shiny scalp shining through, it mats down the shine.
Okay.
And that helps.
Okay.
That's a good tip.
So yeah, there are many ways.
What do you think about those hair fibers? I feel like you see them at the drugstore and
Like
stuff.
topics?
Yeah, like
I
that
like it.
idea. Yeah?
I like it.
Really?
Yeah.
You do like it too?
I do, yeah. And it's
Okay.
been dermatology approved as well.
Okay.
Okay, good to know.
Yeah.
And how long do those last in your hair? Till you wash them out?
Until you
I
wash
guess?
it, yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't found them to like transfer or like if it rains or something, they don't like move.
Yeah.
They stick in there pretty well, but when you shampoo it, it comes out.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Right. Okay.
So for anyone who doesn't know, it's similar to kind of like a spray or a powder, but it has fibers in it that actually kind of like the fiber ones
it's
for
like
your
the fiber
lashes.
mascara,
Yeah.
where it's sticking to the hair.
It's like a shaker. You shake it on.
Yeah.
We'll
Thank you
link to
so much, Adam, for sharing, being so vulnerable. I love that you're so open about your own experience, especially as a hairstylist. I think that's,
We got to normalize it.
yeah, I love that.
We do.
I
Thank you.
appreciate
Really
it.
It's
that, Adam, too.
awkward and it's normal. So
Yeah,
let's
absolutely.
normalize it.
Yeah. And
And-
thanks to you, Penny, as well.
Oh, my pleasure. And, hair loss is devastating. It's part of our identity when we're losing our hair.
Yes.
And, don't be embarrassed. There's lots and lots of resources. I have a support group that all my Trichology's clients are part of. If anyone wants to reach out to me, you can just reach out on my website. Also on my Instagram page too. Ask any questions, and I can lead you to the right resources. I'm affiliated with some of the world-leading dermatologists in hair loss.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Well, thank you so much for your time. We've learned so much.
Thank you so much for having me on your show.
Thank you.
It was fun. Thank you.